Let's get some broader analysis of the situation. I'm bringing Dr. Kiswendsida Guigma, who's a climate scientist, heatwave and anticipatory action specialist at the Red Crescent Climate Centre in Ouagadougou. Good evening to you, sir. How serious is the situation right now? What's your take on it all?
It's really, unfortunately, quite serious. As you were saying, we are just in April. That is, we are still in spring. We already are recording temperature that used to be observed during only summer, which is quite worrying. We have up to nearly 40 degrees, which is not an ideal condition during that part of the year. And as you saw also in Cordoba at the airport today, we had like 39 degrees, which is really like 6 degrees above the previous record. This is also what is worrying, because actually we used to break records by 1 degree, 2 degrees at most, but breaking a record by up to 6 degrees, this is significantly something that is unprecedented, and unfortunately it is not a good sign at all. And actually the situation is also quite complex, because overall, when you compare the current situation across Spain with what I would say a normal year, what we used to see usually at this period of the year, I would say that the current weather is like 12 to 15 degrees warmer than the usual weather, which is another worrying situation. And actually, it does not only stop to Spain, because it is a situation that also affects some other countries like Portugal, but also on the other side of the Mediterranean Sea, you also have a relatively similar situation in northern Algeria and in northern Morocco.
So would I be right in presuming, and I'm sure you will actually correct me if I'm wrong, that if Europe is suffering, the situation is going to be worse in Africa?
Well, this is not necessarily a correct assumption, because in Africa, and actually the current heat is coming mostly from Africa. And in Africa, people are already quite used to some levels of heat, which is not necessarily the case in Europe. Of course, Spain is a relatively hotter country as compared to the rest of Europe, but it doesn't mean that the heat the extra heat, I would say, that the country is receiving is going to be also observed in Africa. Of course, in Africa, we have quite intense levels of heating. For example, at the moment in West Africa, in some capital cities like Niamey or Chad in Central and Western Africa, you'll see that they already are hitting about 40 degrees, 42 degrees. But this is a bit like 1 degree or 2 degrees warmer than the usual weather. Whereas in Spain, as I said, for the case of Cordoba, for example, we are 6 degrees warmer than the previous record, which is something significantly important. And actually, on average, scientists have been able to show that Europe is warming twice as fast as any other places in the world, which is quite a worrying situation.
Europe warming twice as fast as other places in the world. And as you said earlier, a 6-degree increase on what would be presumed to be normal but warm at this time of year. Should the scientists have seen this coming? Because, perhaps we all should have been warned it was going to be like this a bit sooner.
Yeah, of course. Okay, what has caused that is what we call the tropical plume happening in Africa. And it is a weather pattern that is relatively easy to predict. And I can confirm that up to 3 weeks or 4 weeks in advance, scientists, forecasters were already able to see that coming. So in terms of predictability, there was no issue at all. And in terms of also of maybe longer term predictability, I'm thinking of the scale of a couple of years or even a couple of decades. This is also something that many people were aware of because of climate change. Everyone knows that with global warming, the situation is changing. The heat is coming a bit earlier and more intense. And unfortunately, this is exactly what we are seeing. It is about a bit of a situation where the forecasts come true.
Sir, thank you very much indeed. Dr. Kiswendsida Guigma from Ouagadougou joining us there, climate scientist with the Red Crescent Climate Centre there in Burkina Faso. Thank you, sir, very much for that insight. Stay cool if you can, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Sure.